Okay, I finally decided on my carburetor mount, and what I did was I made it's like phenolic material. Uh, I pressed it into the manifold tube going across, and I bored that uh, an, a nipple on the end, or whatever you want to call it, the counter bore on the end here to fit the carburetor, and it fits snug. And what I plan on doing is putting a collar clamp around it. So when I put the carburetor on there and clamp that, it'll hold it in place. And plus, this phenolic should insulate the carburetor from the heat from the cylinders in the head. You know, keep the carburetor a little cooler. Camera's still kind of acting up, so I've been kind of hit and miss with some of my files. I don't know, I think my card has gone bonkers. So I don't know if this one will even make it, but I started by making my collar clamp. You can see what I'm going to do is drill in for a 256 screw hole through there, and then I'm going to split it so that I can put that on here and clamp the carburetor tight. So basically that's all I got left to do for the carburetor is make this clamp, and then for the screws make thumb wheels or thumb for the two screws. So, and then once I get that done, then I'm going to go and start on the spark plugs. Get the spark plugs made, and I finally figured out I think I figured out what I'm going to do with my ignition system. I still wasn't happy with it. I made the deal out of plastic, and I just didn't like how close it came to the gears. So now I'm going to put a 62 thou shim in the cover, in between the cover and in here, so that it'll move it out 62 thou, so that I can actually have that piece of plastic in here and have that plastic coming down far enough to shield the whole gear, so that the wire will come out, you know, on the other side of the gear, so it won't even come close to the gear. Then it'll keep everything out of there. So hopefully that'll work, because it'll come out down here and then over to the hole, and then so. But anyway, that's the plan I've got for that so far. I have to make the shim yet for it, and then sit down and design the plastic Hall effect sensor holder with a shield on it. And I think that'll work pretty good, you know, because it'll shield the wire away from the gear, so there's no way that it can get into the gear then. You know, it may not have ever gotten into the gear the way it was, but when I put it together and looked at it, I didn't like it. So anyway, I probably ruined a couple more more sensors, so, but that's okay. So I'll get this carburetor done, I'll get the spark plugs done, and then I'll make that. And then it'll be a matter of putting gaskets in and final assembly, the way it looks. And the Kickstarter, I do plan on putting the Kickstarter on it, but that'll be after I figure out a stand and everything for it. So my first run will probably be with just either a one-way bearing. That's probably what I'll do, is I'll make a shaft with a one-way, or with a pin in it to fit my starter that I use for my V8s, and I'll use that for the initial start. I mean, once, you know, like I say, I keep saying, yeah, I'm going to get it running. Well, yeah, there's nothing for sure, you know. I'm pretty positive I can get it running, but this will be the first time that I've made a multi-cylinder engine that's not true. because the V8, they're set 90 degrees, but this one here is different. It's only 42 degrees between them, so. And the cam is a little different, because the overlap and the duration of the cam. So when I set the cam, I'm centering it so that the exhaust valve starts to open up at just before bottom dead center, you know, and then it'll close back up just before top dead center, I believe is what I got it set at. Like I say, I may have to mess around with that too. So stay tuned. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. It's basically, like I say, it's going to be, I'm going to pick up the center line of the 1/2 inch hole that goes over that collar, and then move over 150 thousandths and drill halfway through with a 87 thousandths drill, and then drill the rest of the way with a 70 thou drill, and then come in with a slitting saw and slit it, cut it. Then I'll come in with a slitting saw and part it off. So I'll just touch off, move down what I want the width to be, and cut it off. So I'll show you when I get it done. It's all of what I'm doing is going to be pretty much straightforward, so nothing spectacular. So until then, catch you later. Okay, so here's a little collar that'll go on right here. Just like that. Gotta loosen it up a little bit. I think I got that screw. I just turned it in, and then there we go. And then we'll put the carburetor on, we'll slide that in there, and then tighten it up. So that part's done. On to the spark plugs. First thing I'm going to do is make the spark plug bases. I believe I went 1/4 32, or did I go 10/32? I think I went 1/4 32. Anyway, I'll figure out what threads I put in the hole, figure out what threads I put in the head, and then make my spark plug bases, and then turn up some corian and swage them in place and put the electrodes in, and should get spark plugs done here. Shouldn't take that much. Spark plugs are actually the hardest part for me on the spark plugs is the base. Once the bases are done, the corian and the insulator and the other stuff, that's a piece of cake. So I got to sit down and do some figuring and figure out the base for the spark plugs. And I'll probably make 4, so I got an extra set. So until then, I'll catch you later. Getting closer. Like I say, the carb and everything is done. Oh, before I go to the spark plugs, I got to make these and solder on these thumb screw, or the knurled, basically a knurled disc on the low jet, and then one for the high jet needle. So I'll do that. That's all I'm going to do, is just grab a piece of brass, turnips, and straight knurl. Probably put a straight knurl on them, counterbore them a little bit for the hex head of the screw, and then just solder them in place. I'm going to soft solder them. I'm not going to silver solder them, it's too small. So. Alright, well, catch you later.